Last September, I decided to gather my closest friends for a camping trip in the mountains. I was 30 and had camped so many times before. I thought this would be a great way to celebrate the end of summer. We found a perfect spot by a bright lake, surrounded by tall pine trees. The sun was setting as we set up our tents, and laughter filled the air. At first, everything felt normal, but something felt different. Maybe it was just me. The shadows seemed darker as night fell. Around the campfire, we shared stories, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling creeping in. I thought I heard distant sounds from beyond the trees, laughter mixed with soft sobs. I told my friends, but they just laughed it off. "It's probably just the wind," one said. I wanted to believe them. Still, their laughter felt forced, like they were trying too hard to convince themselves. As the night settled deeper, strange things began happening. I noticed my backpack was missing from where I had left it. I thought I put it in the tent, but now I wasn't sure. One of my friends swore he saw a figure lurking at the edge of the trees right as I turned to talk to him. My heart raced in my chest. I didn't want to believe it, but something in his voice made me think we weren't alone. Day by day, the atmosphere changed. Shadows twisted and turned in odd ways. I felt like someone was watching us at all times. My friends tried to keep things light, but my fear grew. A few days in, we found strange footprints circling our campsite. They were too big to be animal tracks. I suggested we talk about it, but no one wanted to acknowledge what might be out there. I wanted to remain calm and logical, but logic felt thin in those woods. When we returned home, the strange occurrences didn't stop. I noticed things shifted slightly in my apartment. Small items went missing, my lights flickered at odd times, and the feeling of being watched followed me everywhere. I started wondering if something came with us from those mountains. I didn't know what was real anymore. One night, I felt a wave of dread wash over me. I glanced into the dark corner of my living room. I was sure I saw a figure just beyond the shadows. I froze, not wanting to blink or look away. That's when I heard a whisper. "Why did you come back?" My stomach dropped. I turned to run, but there was nothing there. My heart raced, and doubt clouded my mind. Then came the last moment I still replay in my head. Late one night, I looked into the dark again. My breath caught as I swore I saw the same figure standing there, silent and waiting. I couldn't move. Now, every time I walk through my front door, I feel that cold, creeping sense of dread. I can't shake the feeling that whatever was in those mountains followed us home. The whisper still echoes in my mind. I wish I knew the answer, but I don't. That morning, I woke up drenched in sweat. The sun poured through my bedroom window, and for a moment, everything felt normal. But the unease crept back as I lay there. I reached over to grab my phone, hoping that maybe a call or text would distract me. No new messages. I stared at the screen, thinking about my friends. I hadn't told them about the whispers. I didn't want them to think I was losing it. Then again, they probably wouldn't understand. I needed a plan. I decided to head to the library. I thought maybe reading up on local folklore could help. There had to be some explanation for the figure and the whispers. I dressed quickly and left my apartment, trying to push aside the chill that gripped me every time I stepped outside. As I browsed the shelves, the musty scent of old books made me feel slightly better. I flipped through books on local legends, old ghost stories, anything that might connect to my experience. My hands trembled as I turned the pages, speeding through the stories of vengeful spirits and lost souls. Then I came across a particular tale. It spoke of a woman who lived in the mountains. She was said to have been wronged and wandered the woods seeking vengeance. The more I read, the more my heart raced. The stories matched what I felt and what my friends had brushed off as nothing. Just as I was about to close the book, I noticed a small detail in an illustration. It showed a grove of pine trees, just like the ones near our campsite. My heart sank. This couldn't be a coincidence. I needed to know more. I checked the clock and realized hours had passed. I hurried home, nearly tripping over my own feet. The closer I got to my apartment, the more anxious I became. As soon as I walked in, my eyes were drawn to the dark corner where I had seen the figure before. I took a deep breath to collect my thoughts. "It's just in my head," I whispered to myself. But as I turned the lights on, I felt the air shift. My fingers brushed against something on the floor. My backpack, the one I thought was missing since the trip. Confused, I picked it up. It was heavier than I remembered. I unzipped it, heart pounding, and poured its contents onto the table. My camping gear spilled out, along with a few items I didn't recognize. A small, cracked mirror among them. When I held it up, I saw a flicker of movement behind me. I turned, but nothing was there. Then the whisper returned, clearer this time. "You shouldn't have come back." I dropped the mirror. As panic surged through me, it shattered on the floor, each piece reflecting the dim light of my apartment. My mind raced as I scanned the room. I felt like I was being hunted, as if the dark was alive and it was closing in on me. Suddenly, I heard footsteps outside my door. My breath quickened and my blood ran cold. Someone was here, but who could it be? I didn't want to face anyone, not now, not when I felt so vulnerable. I held my breath and waited, trying to silence my fear. I pressed my back against the wall, heart racing, willing myself to stay still. The footsteps stopped outside my door. Silence thickened the air like fog, stretching my nerves tight. I squinted at the door handle, watching for movement. It felt like a lifetime passed before the faint click of a key broke the stillness. The door creaked open, and I braced myself for whatever or whoever was about to come in. My throat tightened. I didn't dare breathe. "Hello?" A voice called softly, hesitant and unsure. It was Jenna, my friend from the camping trip. I barely registered the relief washing over me. I shot up from my hiding spot and hesitantly stepped into view. "Jenna," I gasped, "what are you doing here?" Her eyes widened as she saw the mess on the table, the shattered mirror glinting ominously on the floor. "I was worried about you. After everything that happened, you just disappeared." "I didn't disappear. I came back," I snapped, then quickly looked away, guilt gnawing at my insides. "Sorry, I didn't know who else to talk to." Jenna took a step closer, her brow furrowed. "What do you mean? What happened?" I swallowed hard. I didn't even know where to start. The whispers? The figure? I felt ridiculous saying it out loud, fearing she might dismiss me like the others. Instead, I pointed to the book on the table, the pages still flapping slightly from when I tossed it aside. "There's something going on related to our trip. I think we might have brought something back with us." She hesitated, glancing between me and the chaotic scene in my apartment. "Is that why you've been acting so strange?" I nodded, not sure how to explain the shadowy figure I'd seen or the voices that haunted me. I wanted to understand. Something happened in those woods. I think it followed us. Jenna looked thoughtful. She stepped over the remains of the mirror with shaky resolve. "I've had dreams," she admitted, biting her lip. "It sounds crazy, but they feel real, like I'm back at the campsite, in the middle of the night." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean? What kind of dreams?" She took a deep breath. "Things moving in the dark, whispers too, but I can't tell what they're saying. Just a feeling of dread." As she spoke, I noticed a flicker of movement behind her, almost like a shadow passing through the light. I blinked hard, trying to dismiss the nerves rattling in my bones. It had to be my imagination, right? "Jenna, we have to be careful," I warned, my voice lowering. "We need to go back to the woods." "Are you serious?" she gasped. "After what we've been through?" Maybe if we confront it, we can find out what it wants, I replied, desperation creeping in. I need to know if it's all in my head or if something really did follow us. Her eyes were wide, but then her expression shifted. She crossed her arms, glancing around the room. If we're going back, we need to be smart about it. We shouldn't go alone. Suddenly, the air around us felt electric, as if the shadows thickened. I turned my head, and that's when I saw it. A faint outline forming in the corner, dark and full of malice. My heart sank. "Jenna!" I yelled, panic rising. "Look out!" But it was too late. The darkness lunged forward, and everything went black. The coldness enveloped me, pulling me down into an abyss where time had no meaning. My senses flickered awake like a dying light. I gasped for breath, grabbing at the empty air around me. "Jenna?" My voice cracked. Where was I? I remembered the shadow, the darkness swallowing us whole. Panic threatened to rise again, but I forced myself to focus. I blinked several times to clear the disorientation. It took a moment to realize I was on the floor of my apartment, the room dim, but save for a faint light. My heart hammered as I pushed myself to sit, still grasping for sanity. Jenna lay nearby, unconscious. Relief washed over me, yet dread filled the void. I crawled closer, shaking her shoulders gently. "Jenna, wake up, please." Slowly she stirred, groaning. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion plastered on her face. "What happened?" I don't know. We were attacked," I stammered, retracing the events in my mind. Shadows, dread, darkness. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, trying to steady herself. "Just a headache. Maybe we need to get out of here," I suggested, my urgency bubbling to the surface. The air felt heavy, and a sense of foreboding clung to the walls. Something came with us from the woods. Jenna looked around, her face paling as she began to remember. The whispers, those dreams, they weren't just dreams. I nodded, frustration bubbling beneath my skin. They want something from us. We need to do something before it takes control. With effort, Jenna stood, swaying slightly. What do we even do? I racked my brain for answers, but each thought dissolved into the flickering shadows surrounding us. We can try to find the source. Maybe there's something in the book. As I rose reluctantly, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. I glanced at the table where the book lay, open to a page that appeared to be covered in scrawled notes. I stepped forward, looking closely. "That looks like the symbol from our campsite," Jenna whispered. "The one we found near the fire pit." I remembered the night vividly, how it felt like eyes were watching us from the dark trees. What if that symbol is linked to whatever that was? If we can figure out what it means, maybe we can break its hold on us. I skimmed the notes, trying to decipher the hurried handwriting. Words jumped out: confinement, binding, and offerings. Each word sent a chill down my spine. "Offerings?" I whispered. "It wants something from us." Just then, the lights flickered, and the shadows in the corners of the room deepened. I could almost hear the whispers growing louder, swirling around us like smoke. "We need to go back to the woods," I said, urgency taking control. "If that's where our connection is strongest, that's where we have to confront whatever's waiting for us." "I can't go back there," Jenna whimpered, fear dawning in her eyes. "What if it's worse?" "That's a risk we have to take," I insisted, feeling the pull of something dark creeping closer. "We're already in danger. We can't just wait here to find out what it wants." Jenna hesitated, chewing her lip as she surveyed the unsettling darkness closing in around us. Then she took a breath, nodding slowly. "Okay, let's do this together." Before we could make our move, I felt a shift in the air, a sudden and freezing presence sneaking up behind us. It was here again. "Run!" I shouted, turning on my heel. But before we could escape, a voice roared through the room, deep and echoed with rage. "You should have never returned." Everything went black again. I woke up again, not on the floor of my apartment, But back in the woods, surrounded by trees that loomed over me like watchful giants, the air was suffocating, thick with an overwhelming presence that made it hard to breathe. I could feel a familiar chill settling in, the kind that creeps into your bones and makes all rational thoughts scatter. I bolted upright, heart racing. "Jenna?" I called, but it felt as if the woods swallowed my words. Panic rose like bile in my throat as I stumbled to my feet. Everything was quiet, too quiet. Shadows shifted between the trees, whispering secrets I couldn't grasp. I felt a pull in my chest, as if the forest itself was beckoning me deeper, dragging me towards something I couldn't see. "Jenna!" I shouted again, louder this time. Suddenly, she appeared, standing a few meters away, her eyes wide and frightened. "What's going on?" she screamed, her voice breaking the eerie silence. "I think we're back at the campsite," I gasped, instinctively moving toward her. But as I approached, the shadows writhed and shifted like living things. "Stay close. We can't let it separate us." "Why are we here?" she asked, looking around, bewildered. "This is where it all started." "I don't know," I replied, panic clawing at my insides. "It must have pulled us back for a reason. Maybe it wants us to—" Before I could finish, a loud crack echoed through the trees. Jenna and I jumped, adrenaline surging. Then came the whispers again, louder, rising like a chorus of lost souls pleading for attention. I squeezed my eyes shut, desperately trying to block them out. Then I felt a sudden tension in the air, heavy and deliberate. Something was watching us, lurking just beyond the trees. I opened my eyes, scanning the darkened woods with more clarity. "We need to find that symbol from the book," I said. "It might be—" "Behind you!" Jenna screamed. I turned in time to see a dark figure dart between the trees, just at the edge of my vision. My heart dropped. It was quick, too quick, gliding through the shadows like a predator. "Go!" I yelled, grabbing Jenna's hand, pulling her toward the clearing where we had set up camp. As we ran, branches snagged at our clothes, but I didn't dare look back. The whispers morphed into a cacophony of voices, each one more desperate than the last, and that quick movement was right behind us. Then everything froze. The air shifted again, a confounding stillness settling in, as if the world had paused. I glanced back, breathless. There was nothing there. "What happened?" Jenna panted. Her face paled under the moonlight. "I don't know," I admitted. Just as I was about to suggest we investigate, the earth beneath our feet trembled, and the whispers erupted into a terrifying roar, drowning out all reason. Before we could react, the ground split beside us, dark tendrils inching their way from the fissure. "We have to move now!" But as we turned to flee, I spotted it, barely illuminated by the meager light, an unnatural glow emanating from the very symbol we had found at the campfire. A dark energy pulsed around it, and as I gazed at it, a realization struck me. It was more than just a symbol. It was a lock, or perhaps a key. "Jenna!" I shouted, a wave of terror and determination washing over me. "If we can destroy it, maybe we can end this." Just as I stepped forward, the shadows coiled around us tightly, and I realized this was only the beginning. This thing was alive. It wasn't just a memory haunting us. It was hungry. That stark glimmer of hope felt insignificant against the overwhelming darkness closing in. "What if it's too late?" Jenna asked, fear etched across her face. And that's when I saw it. The dark figure emerging fully from the shadows, its monstrous form taking shape behind Jenna. "It's here," I said, my voice barely a whisper, as the last vestiges of light flickered out around us. Jenna's scream cut through the darkness. The figure towered behind her, a swirling mass of tendrils and shadows. I yanked her toward me, just in time as its icy breath brushed past us, sending a shiver down my spine. "Run!" I yelled, pushing her in front of me. We darted toward the symbol, fumbling through the brush as the whispers crescendoed. Each step felt heavy, as if the forest itself was trying to hold us back. We reached the clearing, but the glow from the symbol seemed dimmer now, like it was fading as the creature gained strength. "What do we do?" Jenna whimpered, panic sparking in her eyes. "I don't know. Just stay close," I shouted, looking over my shoulder. The figure was closing in, its form shifting and reforming with each step, dark eyes locked onto us. I reached for the symbol, feeling its texture beneath my fingertips. It felt warm, almost alive. Squeezing my eyes shut to focus, I thought of everything that led us here. The camping trip, the whispers, the nightmares. "We have to remember," I murmured, hoping Jenna could hear me over the chaos. "What? Remember what?" she yelled, glancing back as the figure rose to full height behind us. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of jagged teeth that glistened in the dark. "Everything!" I shot back. "The stories, the warnings, the—" Suddenly, a blast of cold air erupted from the figure, forcing us to our knees as the whispers surged again, drowning out my thoughts. "Jenna, focus!" I urged, grasping her arm. "Do you remember the campfire? The symbol we all thought was just a mark?" She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "But what does it mean?" "I think it's a way to confront it," I exclaimed, adrenaline powering my words. "If this is a lock, maybe, if we can unlock it, we can banish whatever this is." "Then how?" she asked, fear creeping into her voice. "We have to confront it, together," I replied, trying to drown out the noise in my mind. "On the count of 3, we grab that symbol and say what we remember." "What if we can't?" she whispered. "Then we die fighting," I said, feeling the weight of dread, but desperate for her to believe. "Okay," Jenna breathed, determination igniting a fire in her eyes. "Let's do it. 1, 2. I felt the weight of the creature's presence bearing down on us, its whispers almost a roar. 3. We lunged for the symbol, hands clasping around the pulsating energy. As we touched it, an electric shock coursed through us. The world exploded in light, the ground shaking beneath our feet. The dark figure screamed, its voice mixing with the whispers, drowning out everything else. But as the light enveloped us, another image flickered into view, a face, twisted and angry, leering out of the shadows. "Who are you?" I shouted into the void, my voice swallowed by the chaos. And just like that, the light dimmed, plunging us back into the oppressive darkness, where only the chiming of that face echoed in response. The air was thick with silence, a stifling heaviness that pushed against my chest. I blinked, trying to adjust, but the darkness enveloped us like a shroud. "Jenna?" I called, my voice trembling as it cut through the stillness. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," she replied, though her voice was barely a whisper. "What just happened?" I don't know." The memory of the scream still echoed in my mind, a reminder of the creature lurking just out of sight. "We need to stay focused. That thing is still out there." As my eyes adjusted, I caught a glimpse of the symbol glowing faintly, just enough to guide us. Jenna and I instinctively moved closer together, our breaths shallow and quickened. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, waiting for the right moment to pounce. "Do you remember anything else?" I asked, hoping for a thread to cling to. "About what we should do?" She shook her head, strands of hair curling wildly around her face. "Just the stories. The elders said it feeds on fear, that it thrives in the dark. I'm starting to believe that." The heavy unease wrapped tighter around me. If it thrived on our fear, we had to stay calm. "What do we have that can help?" "The amulet!" Jenna's eyes sparkled for a moment as she recalled our friend Mia's gift. "If we can find Mia's amulet, maybe we can use it against the creature." "That's it!" I felt a flicker of hope. "Do you know where we left it?" "By the campfire." Her expression wavered. But that was all the way back at the site. We can't go back there. We have to try. It's our only chance. The thought of running through the pitch-black forest filled me with dread, but I couldn't let her see that. We need to get moving. As we took our first steps, the whispers returned, swirling around us. They sounded almost familiar. A chilling realization crept into my mind. Could they be calling to the dark figure? A shiver chased down my spine. Don't listen to them, I urged Jenna. Just focus on the way back. Each step felt like a betrayal to our instincts, but we pushed on. The darkness pressed in on us, thick and claustrophobic. Shadows danced at the edges of my vision, and I swore I could hear the creature's breath, hot and heavy behind us. Then, suddenly, a figure dashed across our path. "What was that?" Jenna exclaimed, taking a step back. "I don't know," I gasped, heart racing. "Keep moving." But dread clung to me like sweat. I had to know. Could it be another camper? Was there anyone else out here? "Stop," I shouted, forcing us to a halt. To my surprise, the whispering faded slightly, replaced by a low rustling sound not 20 feet away. I squinted into the darkness, my breaths coming in short gasps as I tried to pierce the veil of blackness. Then I saw it. Something shifting before us. A shape that looked like a person but felt wrong, so wrong. "Jenna, run!" I screamed, the urgency crashing over me like a wave. In that moment, I realized we weren't just fleeing the creature. Whatever this was, it was here to keep us from the truth, whatever truth waited back at the campfire. I grabbed Jenna's hand, and we sprinted into the impenetrable dark. But panic clawed at my insides. What lay ahead? What other horrors awaited us in our desperate flight? We ran, the sound of our feet pounding against the forest floor the only thing breaking the heavy silence. My heart felt like a drum, echoing in my ears. I couldn't shake the image of that shape. It lingered like a dark stain in my mind. "Left!" Jenna shouted, tugging me to the side to avoid a thick tree trunk. I followed blindly, trusting her instincts more than my own. The trees loomed overhead, gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. "Do you think it's following us?" I asked, breathless. "I don't know," she yelled, glancing back over her shoulder. "Just keep moving." The fear ignited a surge of adrenaline in me. We zigzagged through the trees, and the whispers swelled again, rising and falling like a chilling chant. I focused on Jenna's footsteps, willing myself to drown out everything else. But I could feel it, the darkness creeping behind us, eager to catch up. Then a crunching sound broke through the chaos, louder than the whispers. I spun around just in time to see movement at the edge of the trees. It was a flash of something pale, almost translucent, disappearing into the shadows. "Did you see that?" I gasped. "There's something else out there." The realization hit me like ice water. It wasn't just the creature we were running from. There were others. Whatever they were drawn to the same dread enveloping us. "Keep going," Jenna urged, her voice strained, and I nodded, unable to articulate my fear. The thought that our camp was full of these things sent shivers down my spine. What if the entire forest was alive with them? We pressed on, the dim light from the glow of the symbol slowly fading as we moved deeper into the trees. Then, just ahead, I spotted something glinting on the ground. "The amulet!" I shouted, hope swelling in my chest. Jenna pulled me toward it, and we fell to our knees in the dirt. Panic surged as I grasped the amulet in my palm. The engraved surface felt warm, pulsing, almost alive, and for a moment a sense of safety enveloped me. "Do you think it will work?" she asked, her eyes wide and pleading. "We have to try. It's our only chance." My confidence flickered uncertainly as I recalled the elders' tales. Suddenly, the air changed. The whispers grew louder and more insistent, as if they recognized the amulet. Then the ground beneath us shook. "What's happening?" Jenna cried, her voice edged with terror. Before I could respond, the trees around us began to sway violently. Large branches snapped like twigs, and I feared they would come crashing down on us. The whispers grew to a deafening roar, drowning out my thoughts. "Make it stop!" I screamed, holding the amulet tight. Just then, a shadow darted out between the trees, and I barely had time to register it before a chill swept through me. "Jenna, look out!" I shouted. But before I could move, the shadow lunged, and everything went dark. When I finally opened my eyes, I was lying on cold, hard ground. The whispers had faded, replaced by a heavy silence that felt almost suffocating. I blinked several times, trying to gather my thoughts. Where was Jenna? I sat up slowly, my body aching, and brushed dirt off my clothes. I was no longer surrounded by trees, but in a dimly lit cave. Shadows danced on the walls from a flickering light in the distance. My heart raced again. I couldn't believe we had been brought here. "Jenna?" I called weakly, my voice echoing softly in the stillness. No answer. Panic twisted inside me. What if she hadn't made it? I pushed myself to my feet, scanning the cave for any sign of her. The air was damp, and the damp earth and stone felt familiar, yet ominous. I followed the light, moving cautiously. As I approached, I noticed the glow was coming from a pool of water, its surface shimmering with an eerie phosphorescence. I knelt beside it, and my reflection stared back. I looked disheveled, eyes wide with fear. Then something caught my attention in the water. It was the amulet, somehow floating just beneath the surface. I reached for it instinctively, but as my fingers grazed the water, a jolt of energy surged through me. My vision blurred, and suddenly flashes of memory danced before my eyes. Scenes from the forest, moments of terror, and a glimpse of a figure, tall and shadowy, intertwined with the whispers. "What is happening?" I muttered, pulling my hand back. Panic surged again. I needed to get out. I needed to find Jenna. I took a deep breath and turned away from the pool, ready to fight my way out of whatever nightmare I had stumbled into. The cave was narrow, and I edged along the walls, the darkness pressing against me. With each step, the air grew heavier, thick with an unnameable dread. That's when I heard her voice. It was faint, but unmistakably Jenna's. "Help!" she called, echoing softly. It was coming from deeper within the cave. I ran toward it, a surge of hope pushing me forward. But then the ground beneath me trembled again, and I felt a presence behind me. I whipped around, but whatever it was remained hidden in the shadows. I could almost sense it watching me, as if it were deciding whether or not to show itself. "Jenna!" I shouted again, my voice a mix of fear and desperation. "Please." I don't know where I am." I had to find her. I sprinted, my heart pounding, throat dry from anxiety. The cave twisted and turned, each corner revealing the same cold stone walls and damp air. But the whispers were back, swirling around me like a storm. And then I saw it, a flicker of movement ahead. I rushed forward, but froze when I reached another pool. This one larger, the water swirling with an unsettling energy. In the center floated something dark and indistinct, pulsing like a heart. Panic surged as I realized it wasn't just a shadow. It was a figure, almost human, yet not, wreathed in darkness. And I understood. It was watching me. Then everything went quiet, as if the cave itself held its breath. I could feel the pressure of its gaze. I stepped back, terrified. That's when I saw it, the form of a hand reaching out from the swirling mass. "Jenna!" I screamed, but it was too late. The understanding hit me. Whatever had followed us was here, and it was waiting. I stumbled backward, the weight of terror threatening to pull me under once more. "Jenna!" My voice echoed unnaturally through the cave, swallowed by an overwhelming silence that followed the unsettling presence. The hand flickered, pulling away from the surface of the swirling water. But my heart raced at its familiarity. Its chilling, inviting gesture was undeniably hers. I rushed toward the dark figure, fueled by desperation. The whispers escalated, filling my head with conflicting emotions: fear, anger, sorrow. I couldn't let it have her. "Jenna!" I shouted again, louder this time. "I'm coming!" As I closed the distance, an unseen force held me back, stretching out tendrils of shadow that coiled around my limbs. I fought against them, knowing I had to reach her. I could see her now, partly obscured by the swirling mass, her face distorted by fear and uncertainty. "Please," she cried out, stretching her own hand toward me. "Help me!" I yelled, feeling the darkness clawing at my resolve. Pushing through the shadows, I lunged forward, ready to grasp her hand. But just as I reached for her, the figure's grip tightened around Jenna, pulling her further away. The whispers surged again, a cacophony of sinister laughter that pierced my mind. "No!" I roared, my heart pounding. I felt an instinctive pull towards the amulet still at the edge of the first pool. I turned, breaking free from the shadows momentarily, and dove towards it, my fingers racing to grasp its warmth. As soon as my fingers curled around the amulet, an electric shock shot through me, surging with power and clarity. I could feel the essence of every story I had read come alive within me. I understood then. This was more than just an object. It was our only chance to break the bond. "Jenna!" I called out again, summoning every ounce of strength I had. "I'll fight for you. I won't."
"It take you!" the dark figure shrieked, its form flickering ominously as I lifted the amulet. "You think you can control me?" it hissed, the voice mingling with the whispers. "I won't let you feast on fear any longer," I shouted, brandishing the amulet in front of me as I summoned the strength of every memory and every story I could recall, the laughter, the adventures, the love shared around a campfire. "You don't own us. We are strong together." A blinding light erupted from the amulet, illuminating the cave. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as the figure began to unravel. I rushed forward, pulling Jenna closer to me with one frantic motion, feeling her warmth against my skin. Together, we stood at the edge of light that poured from the amulet, creating a barrier against the darkness. "Now!" I yelled, holding the amulet high. "Confront it!" As our voices lifted in unity, the whispers grew frantic, tangling together until they formed an anguished cry. The dark figure shrieked in despair as the light pierced through it, unraveling its form, tendril by tendril. In a final, desperate effort, the figure lunged forward. I held Jenna tight, refusing to let go. The light intensified, enveloping us both, and the screams around us became deafening as the darkness melted away, consumed by the radiant glow. Within seconds, or maybe it was an eternity, we were lifted from the ground, and then, just like that, everything stopped. We landed with a thud on the forest floor, not far from where we had started the journey. The soft rustling of leaves and the gentle sound of a nearby stream filled the air. Moments later, Jenna whispered, it was all gone. She looked around, visibly shaken but alive. The dark figure was nowhere to be found. "Are we free?" I asked, crouching beside her. The forest was quiet, the moon casting a gentle glow upon the clearing. But as we blinked in the sudden safety, I felt an echo deep within me, a lingering fear tinged with doubt. Did we really banish it, or is it just waiting for the next chance to return? Jenna's gaze drifted toward the trees. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice shaky, "but I'll never forget what we faced, or what it wanted from us." We looked at each other, knowing that we had survived, but uncertainty lingered like a shadow at the edge of our minds. We gathered our things, hearts pounding, and eyes scanning the forest, wary of what could still lurk in the unseen. As we made our way back to the car, the echoes of whispers danced in the wind behind us, reminders that some mysteries never fully dissolve, questions unresolved, lurking in the depths of the dark. "Let's never come back here again," I murmured, a shiver creeping down my spine. "Agreed," Jenna replied, her eyes darting nervously toward the tree line. But she hesitated, looking back one last time, then glanced at me. "You think they'll follow us?" I shook my head, a pit forming in my stomach. "I don't know," I said, my voice trembling, "but I guess we'll find out." And with that, as we drove out of those woods, we carried with us an unsettling heaviness. There were things we may never understand, not fully at least, yet that dark shadow had changed everything. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if what followed us still lurks somewhere, if it waits for my return. But mostly, I try not to think about it.